A Florida man didn't just ruffle feathers, he fried them. A 61-year-old in Hudson confessed to killing two of his own pet peacocks, tossing them in a frying pan and eating them, all because his neighbor wouldn't stop feeding them. That's not a feud. That's a dinner special from a parallel universe. Most people put up "do not feed the birds" signs. This guy went straight to "do not feed the birds or I will." And here's the kicker, these weren't random feral peacocks, they were his. He bought them, raised them, fed them, named them, dealt with their screeching, and then, in a fit of culinary vengeance, turned them into whatever the dark web version of Thanksgiving is. Picture the guest introductions. This is Blueberry, this is Sunshine, and that casserole you're eating. That was Carl. It didn't stop with the frying pan. When deputies asked what happened, Craig Vogt gave the calmest culinary confession on record. "Yes, I killed my peacocks, cooked them, and ate them." That's not testimony, that's a Yelp review. He basically handed over his mugshot along with a recipe card. Somewhere in Florida, there's probably a cookbook titled "Stand Your Ground and Grill." And what set him off? The neighbor was feeding the birds. That's it. A couple handfuls of seeds across the fence, and suddenly it's Peacock Armageddon. Most people leave passive-aggressive notes. He left drumsticks. This wasn't conflict resolution, it was conflict reduction, literally reducing the population of his own pets. But Craig wanted to make sure the point really landed, so he sat down and wrote a letter, a handwritten threat, stuffed in the neighbor's mailbox, spelling out exactly what he'd done and exactly what he'd do next, keep killing his peacocks one by one until she stopped handing out free snacks. That's not communication. That's Saw, the Aviary Edition. Who threatens extinction with stationery? "Dear Madam, cease your feeding or I'll continue this poultry purge." That's not a letter. That's a ransom note to Mother Nature. Law enforcement arrived later that night. They asked Craig about the letter. He didn't flinch. He didn't stammer. He just confirmed everything, like he was giving directions to the post office. "Yeah, I killed them, cooked them, ate them. I'll do it again." Deputies noted he was calm, matter of fact. The man weaponized his own pets and called it logic. Now here's the irony baked into this whole saga. Peacocks are not subtle creatures. They are loud, flashy, dramatic. They scream at dawn like feathered car alarms and strut around like royalty that just discovered rhinestones. They are the divas of the bird world, and Craig chose to live with them. He bought the chaos, then blamed the neighbor when the chaos got a snack. That's like buying a drum set and suing your neighbor for noise pollution. Legally, none of this works in his favor. Florida has animal cruelty laws, and "but I ate them" is not a defense strategy. He's charged with aggravated animal cruelty, a felony carrying up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Somewhere, a judge is going to have to sit through a hearing where the defendant explains why his casserole came with feathers. That's justice, but with leftovers. And think about the economics. Peacocks aren't cheap. They can run a few $100 each, plus food, care, and maintenance. Craig poured money and effort into these birds, then torched his own investment out of spite. This is the financial planning equivalent of draining your 401k just to prove a point to your neighbor. He burned cash, feathers, and credibility in one skillet. Now the whole neighborhood's spooked. Hudson residents are probably avoiding eye contact with anything that chirps. A squirrel scampers by, they cross the street. Someone compliments your dog, you move. A cat meows, you lock the door. That block has the community spirit of a Cold War demilitarized zone. And the saddest part, the peacocks never asked for this. They just strutted, screamed, and lived their gaudy, feathery lives. They were built to be annoying, but somehow, Craig out-dramaticked the most dramatic creatures on Earth. That's commitment. That's artistry. He turned his pets into props, then props into entrees, and then entrees into threats. So here's where we land. This wasn't just animal cruelty. This was neighborhood theater performed in feathers and cast iron. A man out to prove that revenge really is a dish best served hot, even if it comes with plumage. And if you think that's the wildest headline Florida has to offer, don't get comfortable. There's another one waiting right behind it. In Tempe, Arizona, a woman ordered a Grubhub pizza and ended up with a delivery she'll be telling at parties for years. She opened the door expecting a sweaty 20-something in a Corolla. Instead, she got 2 uniformed police officers holding a cardboard box of pepperoni. Their line? "So your driver got arrested, but we still brought your food." That's not customer service, that's a deleted scene from Super Troopers. Now, the backstory. The driver wasn't just delayed by traffic, he got pulled over for reckless driving and racing, while on a Grubhub shift. That's not delivery, that's Fast and Furious, breadstick drift. Imagine Vin Diesel but with a warming bag. At some point, this guy thought, you know what's worth a felony and a ruined background check? Getting Cindy her thin crust in under 30 minutes. They could have bagged the pizza as evidence, written impounded mozzarella on the report, and left the customer wondering where dinner went. Instead, they became part-time door dashers, walked it right up to her doorstep, knocked, and handed it over warm. And you know they rehearsed that line in the cruiser. One cop practicing, "Your rights remain delicious." The other saying, "No, go with hot and under arrest." The customer's reaction? She opens the door to two officers holding a cardboard box like it's a suspicious package. For half a second, she's bracing for bad news. A break-in, a warrant, something with paperwork. Nope, just dinner. She probably tipped them in sheer relief. There's body cam footage too. The timing is perfect. The cop says the line. The customer laughs nervously. And somewhere in the background, you can hear the ghost of Domino's whispering, "We've been dethroned." But think about the poor driver, somewhere in the back of a squad car, hands cuffed, watching the cops finish his route. Imagine the betrayal. You lose your license, you lose your car, and now two guys in aviators are stealing your 5-star rating. That's career theft. And you know those officers debated whether to peek at the special instructions in the app. Leave at door, don't knock, baby sleeping. Sorry, ma'am. In Tempe, we enforce the law and the doorbell. And the implications just keep stacking. Does Grubhub log this in the system? Order delivered by Officer Martinez, badge 314. Does the customer's receipt now say, "Your driver is currently being detained, but dinner's on the way"? Somewhere, an algorithm is completely broken trying to calculate whether this counts as on time. Then there's the marketing angle. Grubhub's ad team spent millions last year trying to convince people they deliver fast and reliable. And here comes Tempe PD dropping the best tagline of the decade. Our drivers are fast, too fast. So fast they get arrested, and you still get your food. That's priceless PR. Meanwhile, social media ran with it, memes everywhere. Screenshots, captioned, "Protect and serve, pizza." Cop cars photoshopped with pizza toppers on the roof. Somebody mock-up to Domino's commercial, 30 minutes or less. Or, Officer Friendly brings it personally. For once, law enforcement scored positive Yelp reviews. Food arrived hot, justice was swift, would absolutely get detained again. And the jokes write themselves when you consider the risks. This driver was drag racing for tips. That's not hustle culture, that's criminal Uber Eats. At what point do you think, sure, I'll blow a red light for $6 and a garlic knot? It's not the gig economy, it's the felony economy. But here's my favorite mental image. The two cops in the cruiser, pizza box in hand, debating whether to take one slice. Chain of custody, one says. For evidence. The other goes, evidence tastes like pepperoni. You just know they thought about it. Legally, the driver faces reckless driving and racing charges. For the customer, she got dinner with a side of absurdity. Probably the safest delivery of her life. Nobody's stealing your pie when two armed escorts bring it straight to the door. And the moral writes itself. In Tempe, even if your Grubhub driver ends up in handcuffs, the long arm of the law still makes sure your extra cheese arrives intact. Justice may be blind, but apparently it delivers hot and ready. So let's close this box the way it deserves. If you're gonna street race on the job, make sure your replacement driver carries a badge. Pizza justice, served hot, believe it or bullshit. Hit that subscribe button, because God knows what other insane news I'm gonna dig up next time.